Welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Baruch, your host. Happy to be here with you, bringing you a guest. She's returning to the show for the second time. She's got a new record out. This is a person who is an anthropologist and a musician. Her roots are in the Middle East, in Persia, Iran, and she's a Jewish woman. So she is talking with us today about some of the history of Jews in Iran, Persia. There was a time when Jews and Muslims coexisted peacefully in the area we call the Middle East, which is actually North Africa. With the atrocities of war going on right now, it's important to remember it hasn't always been this way. If you ever have a chance to visit that part of the world, you'll find that people with different ethnic and religious identities have so much in common. Even the languages are similar, Hebrew and Arabic. Their scripts, the writing, is similar. Some of the words are similar. My name, Baruch, means blessing or blessed in Hebrew. In Arabic, the same word is barak. So let's learn more about this and hear some amazing music. Here's my guest on this episode of Paradigms. Galeet Dardashti, welcome back to Paradigms.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm really happy to see you. And you have a new record out called Monajat, which is very, very interesting. I listened to it this morning. It's devotional. It's got a little bit of rock and roll feel to it in places. It's very like ancient Middle Eastern sounds, and that you are celebrating Persian Judaica. Tell me about this record and what it means to you and the making of it and just everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying the record. So I've been invested in sharing Middle Eastern Jewish culture for a long time, both as an artist, and as a scholar, as an anthropologist. This project is particularly personal for me because my grandfather, Younes Dardashti, he was one of the most famous singers of Persian classical music in Iran. And he sang at the Shah's palace, and he sang in the most prominent concert halls in Tehran. And he had a weekly spot on national Iranian radio. So he was a big deal in Iran. But of course, he was also Jewish. And he would, as a volunteer, he would lead his community in prayer. There's no profession of cantor in most of the Middle East and North Africa. So if you are talented as a singer and you know the liturgy, you're asked to lead your community in prayer. So I didn't have very many recordings of my grandfather singing in Hebrew. Mostly, of course, we have recordings of him singing in Persian. But we had this one recording of him singing these prayers of slichot. And slichot are these prayers that you sing before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the month before, basically to get you in the right frame of mind, to get you prepared for this very intense experience that you have on the high holidays, where you're supposed to kind of reevaluate your entire year, everything you've done. And so my grandfather would sing these prayers of slichot in his community. And in the Middle Eastern and North African community, these prayers are sung for an entire month, in some places, every late night. Or in the case of most Persian Jews, they start around 4 a.m. And they sing these prayers before they chant their morning prayers. And so, oftentimes these prayers during the month before the Jewish New Year would be at people's houses in their courtyards. And so many people have these memories of hearing my grandfather singing, and you could hear him through the streets of Tehran. And it was amazing because he was very well known, not just among Jews. He was very, very well known among Muslims, and they would hear him and they would say, "Oh, that's Younes Dardashti," and they knew he was Jewish. And so I just, I loved that image. These poetic prayers that he sings are just so moving and powerful with his, incredible voice. And I always wanted to connect with it. And so that's what I've done through this project called Monajat. That's the word in Persian for a kind of intimate dialogue with God. That's what Monajat means. And I found a way to connect with these prayers, to sample them, to be able to sing with my grandfather. I knew my grandfather, but I didn't know him in a deep way. And this project gave me the opportunity to really connect with him.
I'm talking with Galeet Dardashti about her new record, Monajat. We're going to hear some music now featuring her grandfather, Younes Dardashti, and then we'll be back with more of this conversation, learn more about the history of this music. From Galeet Dardashti, this is called Melek, and this is Paradigms at paradigms.life. That's Melek from the new album Monajat by Galeet Dardashti, featuring her grandfather's voice, Younes Dardashti. Here's the next part of my conversation with Galeet. Tell me about the record itself, the tracks, the songs, the accompaniment.
Yeah, so I get to work with an amazing group of musicians that I've been working on this music with for many years. And we really arranged these songs together. One of the musicians, Shanir Blumenkrantz, who is the oud player and bass player on this album, he also produced the album. And I'm just really excited about it. I think he did an amazing job we did some things in the studio that kind of weren't there before. And that's really the job of a producer. So we have Shanir on, like I said, on bass and oud. We have Max ZT, who's just this incredible hammered dulcimer player, does things on the dulcimer that you would never imagine could be done. Zafer Tawil on violin, ney, percussion, and everybody sings vocals, I should say, backup vocals, and Philip Mayer on drums and percussion. And yeah, and we have a little bit of toy piano also from Phil and Shanir.
And there's a special guest, which is your grandfather.
Well, and yes, and the very special guest who is featured is my grandfather, Younes Dardashti. We used the recordings of my grandfather, so I get to sing with him. He is, on some pieces, he is the main, he's the lead. And on some pieces, we are head to head, we are duetting and harmonizing in some cases, trading verses. There's some pieces that I compose myself and that are just me. Yeah, that's the project, and I'm pretty excited about it.
What is your heart's desire in doing this work, in bringing this to us?
Yeah, I mean, I have many. One is I'm very, very excited about sharing my grandfather's voice. He was just such an amazing powerhouse, such an incredible artist. And, he immigrated to Israel in the 1960s. For a while, he was able to go back and forth between Iran and Israel, and it was no problem. And that's kind of what I think he had envisioned, that he wouldn't have to give up his career as a musician. But of course, after the Islamic Revolution in 79, he couldn't go back. And so it's a sad story in that, he wasn't able to continue. And so I'm really, really excited to bring his music back for people to hear. And I hope in future years to kind of release more of his music to the world, because he was just, incredible. So that's one piece. Another piece for me, which has always been a really important part of my work, both as scholar and artist, is really to highlight the fact that this music is both deeply Persian and deeply Jewish. And both of those pieces were always happening at the same time. And part of that is why I call this project Monajat, because the last song in the recording that, the cassette tape that we have of my grandfather singing these pieces is a piece that he sang called Monajat. And nobody in my family really knew what this piece was. What is Monajat? It's a word in Persian, and nobody knew what it was. And all the other prayers are in Hebrew, and this is a poem that he's chanting in Persian. And I asked around, and it turns out that this was definitely a poem written in the style of a Rumi poem. And my grandfather, of course, interpreted Rumi as a singer. But most people think my grandfather wrote this poem. He wrote this poem, and it was his thing. He always ended slichot services when he led them in Tehran with this poem. And it was very, very moving and powerful to me, because he was a Persian Jew, and he innovated a Persian Jewish ritual by bringing in a Persian poem that he probably composed, because for him it was the most natural thing, right? To bring in a Persian piece, even though the liturgy is in Hebrew, for him, there was no conflict because it was so fluid for him, his Persianness and his Jewishness. And I feel like, in our Western culture of, sacred and secular, that isn't so well understood how that could be the case. And also the way that this is a shared culture is really, really important for me to have people hear and have people understand that, these people were very much both Persian and Jewish at the same time. And at a time where I feel like in the media, everyone is always, so separated, we're so divided. I wanted to really highlight that in the music, how shared this musical culture is.
We'll be back with more conversation with Galeet Dardashti talking about Jews in Persia, reminding us that there has been time when Jews and Muslims coexisted peacefully in Iran. Here are a couple of more tracks from her new record, Monajat. First, the title track. Here we go.
دلا برخیز و طاعت کن که طاعت بهتر کار است. اطاعتون کسی دارد که پیش از صبح بیدار
That's called Wine Song for Spring. It really gets going. You can hear why I said there's some rock and roll in this music. There really is. Before that, we heard the title track, Monajat, from this new record by Galeet Dardashti. And now let's get back to my conversation with Galeet. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life. The issue of polarization, the divisions that humans stoke amongst ourselves, obviously very troublesome if we're paying any attention at all to things that are happening in the world. It is kind of the thing that we are doing that is leading us to so much destruction and to create so much suffering.
Absolutely.
Whether it's between Muslims and Jews, or Christians and Jews, or Muslims, or all of, and it's not just the Abrahamics. Others are, paths are doing it too. So the work of bringing us together, I call that sacred work, acknowledging that we are actually a community of beings on this planet, not just the humans either. And so anything that highlights, celebrates, and acknowledges that, I think, is a really good thing. We need more of that. But it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to present. Some people are very invested in maintaining the sense of division. And I'm curious to know, in your work of bringing together, have you encountered opposition? Have you encountered anyone having a hard time with it? I'm curious about the evolution of how people receive this.
Yeah, I think that's what's so powerful about music. The answer to your question really is no. I haven't encountered anything like that. And that is because, I am basically taking this music that exists, these archival recordings, and playing around with it. This music exists. It is a fact. And you can just basically hear it when you listen to this music, that it is both Persian and Jewish. And so no one can deny that. Just by the very nature of listening to it, it's without question, it is there. So I'm not really sure how anyone really could dispute, that piece. There's so much that can be disputed. But that's kind of one of the incredible things. This is the music that my grandfather sang in Iran, and that, many generations sang. And Jews were very important to the musical culture in the Middle East, and Iran is no exception. And so really all I have to do is play it for people. And sometimes there's an aha moment, when I ask people, what does this sound like to you? And many of them will say, oh, well, it sounds like the muazzin's call to prayer. Oh, well, actually, that's my grandfather singing in Hebrew. And so how could anyone how could anyone object to what is, this is just a fact. This is what this music is. And there is almost no disputing that shared culture when you hear the music.
Well, I love the image I had when you talked about your grandfather's voice being heard all throughout Tehran.
Yeah.
And those vibrations, well, they never stop, right? So the city of Tehran is still vibrating with your grandfather singing these prayers. And the people of his generation, and maybe of yours in Tehran, in Iran, maybe must be people who remember.
Yeah.
And who are maybe even still listened to, and will be thrilled to receive this music if it's allowed to go there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, my grandfather is definitely remembered among older Muslims. Yes. He is here by older Iranians. So I'm sure there are those that still remember him there. But my grandfather was really the first and the last famous Jewish singer in mainstream Iran. And I don't know if there will ever be another Younes Dardashti in Iran who achieved that level of fame. It was this kind of blip, right, under the Pahlavi dynasty where Jews and women could achieve these things. And I hope that, once these generations pass away, that can still be remembered. But that's kind of the sad part, that I don't know for how much longer that will be remembered, because, as I said, people knew at the time that he was Jewish. They did, and it was not a problem at all. But you don't have that anymore in Iran.
By doing this, you've created a next iteration of what your grandfather was doing. So you have extended the life of this material another few generations.
Yes, I hope so.
We'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Galeet Dardashti after we hear a couple more tracks from the new album Monajat. This is The Awakening.
בני אדום ושור דרכי גבוהך ורוץ לעבוד צור קדום מה לך אוהלי מרומוב וכוכבים חותמיו פיתוחי תבותיו ותייחל את ישועתו מלך הגדול קונקרו ללא
Yashen al Teradam from the new record Monajat by Galeet Dardashti. And before that we heard The Awakening. And now here's the final part of my conversation with Galeet Dardashti. By doing this, you've created a next iteration of what your grandfather was doing. So you have extended the life of this material another few generations.
Yes, I hope so.
I think what comes up for me in listening to the music and talking with you is, honestly, how sad it is that these divisions have been exalted and are being so affirmed and reinforced politically primarily. I don't really think culturally people subscribe to this stuff, but the politics, wealth doesn't trickle down, but ideology does.
Yeah.
So if we're going to talk about ideology, and this stuff trickles down from the top, and of course we know that humans continue to put people or allow people into positions of great power whose motives are not pure, or who are extreme thinkers without flexibility. And that's why we see a lot of the strife, I think we see.
Yes.
I read this book years ago when I was staying in Italy, and it was The Girls of Riyadh was what it was called. And it was these women writing about their experiences living under Sharia law and the little ways they were able to get around it and the ways they weren't. What I got from that, among other things, was that the people don't necessarily dig this.
Oh, yeah, no. No, absolutely not. I mean, Iranians want to, be happy and live their life. And it is sad. It is sad that I haven't been able to visit Iran. And I thought that would be possible for me when I started out, getting my PhD, but it became clear that I would not be able to go to Iran as the politics unfolded. But yeah, it is really sad to me because this is Iran is a major part of my heritage. My father grew up, and I hope one day it will be safe, and it will, be a place that I can go and visit, because I'm dying to see where my father grew up.
The irony has been named many, many times by wiser people than me, but we're talking about a region of Earth which is, quote unquote, the cradle of civilization. I mean,
Yeah.
North Africa, all of our haplogroups come from Central Africa. That's where it seems that humans first stood upright. But, North Africa, it's not that far away. And here we have, Iran, Iraq. These are the places where so much of what we live now actually originated. And it's gone to this very destructive, angry, hard place. I'll tell you, though, what one time when I was in Israel, people said to me, if it weren't so damn hot, people wouldn't be so angry.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's pretty hot here now too. So.
Yeah, well, and people are getting pretty angry.
People, yeah. Maybe we can just attribute all of the problems to climate change, and
well, what if humans actually decided to make Earth really great for everyone, regardless of religion or ideology or race or ethnicity or any of that? Let's just start with that, and then we can hash out those other differences. But we seem to be doing it the opposite way.
I'm with you.
I have so much conflict within myself about the Abrahamic traditions.
In what sense?
Well, the orthodoxies all seem really repressive.
Mm.
The misogyny thread is really something I don't like. And it's mostly, I would say, there are extreme violent Jewish groups now, but I look mostly at, and I'll, own it. I've got my bigotries, I guess, the evangelicals and the Muslim extreme, any extremes.
Of course.
Any extremes. And so those are the ones that get the airplay, and those are the ones that draw the reaction, and those are the ones I react to.
Yeah, of course.
I'm also aware that I encounter lots of people who are deeply involved with Abrahamic traditions, who are lovely, peace-loving, caring, unity-creating people. And I think that needs to be who we hear about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm so with you. You have the extremes, but you have beautiful people of course, in all the faiths, who are trying to bring people together rather than, tear people apart and separate people. So yes, absolutely. I am really drawn to the beautiful elements of religion, which is why, I continue to record sacred music as a woman, performing this music from the Middle Eastern Jewish realm. And, this is my reinvention of this ritual, these prayers. And some of them didn't appeal to me, right? Some of them didn't speak to me. And so I composed new pieces, and I took, in fact, this album is all about kind of the new year and renewal. And some of the other pieces maybe were less appealing to me. Some of the language of penitence maybe didn't appeal to me as much. I found other texts, even one from the Persian New Year, that appealed to me, because again, my grandfather took these artistic liberties, bringing in a Persian poem. I said, oh, well, I can bring in a New Year Nowruz poem from the Persian New Year, because we're talking about the same themes of renewal and of turning over a new leaf. And those were some of the themes in my reinvention of this slichot, of this ritual that I wanted to bring in. And so I did that. And that's part of what's exciting to me about kind of reimagining some of the Jewish ritual. And I felt like I had artistic license to do it, since my grandfather was doing it himself. So that is also exciting to me, is kind of, taking pieces from the religion and reimagining, breathing new life into it, because that, religion has always been that way, just like everything else.
Judaism particularly says this is a living tradition, which means
Yes.
it is always changing.
Yes.
And that I can get behind.
Yes.
I love
me too.
that. I think that's beautiful. I think when we cling to dogma and doctrine with no room for critical thinking, or to do what you did, which is say, hey, this needs to evolve because we're evolving.
Yeah.
It's powerful. You are so carrying forward his legacy. It's really, I imagine you must feel this mantle of his presence in this work.
It's really exciting. It's really exciting to be able to sing with him. I never got to sing with him, I mean, he was this huge master. And so it's amazing for me to find a way in my own way, to be able to sing with him and kind of share the microphone with him.
Well, I think it's great. I hope people listen to this, Jews, Persians, and everyone else.
Thank you so much. I hope so too.
So what happens with the record? It's going out. People are going to get to listen to it. You're doing some press for it. Are there any events scheduled for it?
Yeah, I just had my first album release in Brooklyn. Yeah, and now I'm now starting to book other places around the country and beyond, because I'm really excited about sharing this music with people.
It's beautiful. Where it comes from in you is a beautiful place. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
Galeet Dardashti, thank you so much for coming back to Paradigms and talking with me about this new record, Monajat. It's really an amazing project, and what it embodies really is this, not just hope, but the memory of peaceful coexistence. We have to not only imagine what can be, but remember what was. There have been times throughout human history where we were able to coexist with people who we might have thought of as different peacefully. We can get back to that. I just love this project and how Galeet is relating with her grandfather through his recordings and collaborating with him to make this music. It's too easy to take sides, to polarize, and we've been doing that for a long time, and we know how that goes. What if we do something different? What if instead of taking sides and polarizing, we just say, all cruelty must stop. Everyone must put down their weapons. It's not about who started it. It's about how do we finish it? How do we make peace? We make peace by stopping the violence. It's always a small number of people promoting war. Most of us don't want it. We're the majority. We can say no more war. Let's make it so. Galeet Dardashti, thank you so much for bringing this music to us and this ethos of coexistence. If you'd like to know more about Galeet Dardashti and her work, her music, her anthropological explorations, her website is galeetdardashti.com. GaleetDardashti.com. Check out her website, her music, and the educational programs she offers, workshops, lectures. Thanks again, Galeet. And if you enjoyed this episode of Paradigms, I hope you'll also check out our website, paradigms.life, where you'll find this episode and over 600 others to listen to and share with friends. All right, I am going to leave you with one more track of music from Monajat, Galeet Dardashti's new record. It's called New Year Invitation. I like the idea of ending with an invitation to peace, an invitation to a next chapter for us. And once again, the word for the week is peace. Speak it, invoke it, make it. Let's make peace. All right, Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Until then, peace and be well. You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.